this kind of need to kind of put a stamp on Atlanta. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I think people want to promote it and make Atlanta the next big thing because it's just like undiscovered land. Like when people just find land, they want to put that stamp on it. It's like, yo, we were here, we did it first. Like look at all the stuff that we found, like here in this place.
Oh, so like Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. That's what it sort of has that kind of makings because like UTA just came in, Kendrick just came in, so like now they are being crystallized the reason why Atlanta or part of it, and not like all the shit that we're talking about. Like, because this article is not talking about the high collection or like all the other stuff. Like it's this other thing that is trying to christen it, so it sort of feel like marketing, but it also, I feel the energy, so it may be true, and it may be the thing that take you over the top. So, but it's all about like who gets to present it, who gets to say Atlanta is the new thing, and who then becomes the person that they look to talk about it. That's what it feels like. Like it just in this article in particular is one I thought about.
Yeah, well, people, they're definitely positioning themselves to be authorities. I think we need it all. Some people have done it kind of lately though, in the sense that if and it's also you got to remember things are so much about relationships and who you get access to. So when you got new individuals that's 5 years in or 5 months in, and they got relationships with major publications, then that's where they're going to come to do the stories. I think for me, like Atlanta Art Week that Kendra spearheaded, it's a great opportunity to showcase the galleries. But what about the galleries that weren't included? You know what I mean? What about the venues that weren't included in those type of conversations? And I guess with anything, it boils down to who's curating and who's making the selection committees. It's no different than like the museums. When the museums make decisions to acquire works by certain artists or from certain galleries and not others, it doesn't mean that the work is not worthy. It's just do you have access? And that's part of the problem that I think many black businesses black galleries have had is a lack of access to curators and collection committees and resources. So those that do, they're going to get some shine. But I think it's going to feed into the overall ecosystem, or at least it should. It should feed, because like when people go to those spaces or go to those venues, and we can get them hot and bothered about the industry as a whole, then you at least stand a chance that someday they may walk through your door or walk in your studio. But it's all part of it, and then they're going to influence some people. They're going to have some friends, that's going to come to the city, and you can't control it. It's like a wave. It's like a tidal wave. You can't control where that splash is going to hit. But at least there's some buzz and some energy that's taking place in Atlanta. On multiple fronts. And it's needed. Like studio noise with a Z. Yeah, man. But the one thing that I know about like this industry is that you can't control it. You can't. You just pray to get your portion of it, because thankfully, for everybody that goes to, this particular gallery or this particular fair, go out of the city to buy art, there are several others, tens of others, or hundreds of others that are connecting to art in so many different places in so many different ways, and they can care less about the market. They can care less about what somebody is saying. They just want to know, do I like it? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's the great democratization of what we do, man. Is that the beauty is we can find support at whatever level or whatever stage you are in our development. So thank God for that.
All right, you ready?
No.
Ready? Run our mouth a little bit.
Man, shit, you ain't been recording this. I'm glad I'm recording.
Hello? That's one or two. Hello? Hello?
I'm sure that's you.
Hello? Jamaal? Say something?
Oh, yeah. What's up? You saying Jamaal?
Yeah, it doesn't need to hear it. Just want to make sure that it's
He
ready.
just want to hear his name.
Put
Jamaal.
the mic a little closer to you.
Oh, okay. This is Jamaal Barber.
There you go. Alright, there we go. Much better. Can you see it?
I can tell you now, we're gonna need to edit some of this stuff.
We don't need to edit. We straight.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna hit the record. Let's see what we got. Okay, yeah, we got plenty of time. Alright, we hit record. Alright, yes, it's your boy Jay Barber back again at the Black Art America Gallery, 1802 Comedy Drive. Y'all hear the ads, y'all know what's going on. I'm sitting up here, chopping it up with my man Najee Dorsey today. What's up, Najee?
Oh man, you got it? What's the word?
Man, we sitting here, man, we was looking for something to do, man. We was gonna do an interview with you, and I was like, nah, man, let's talk about some other stuff.
You
It's
know
like,
what I'm
alright,
saying?
what's up?
I can't stick with the program. I always gotta throw a little wrench into it. No man. Hey, I'm in my feelings today. Let's not talk about that.
We got Najee Dorsey, CEO, founder, all the things here at Black Art America. Art dealer, artist, so many perspectives, collector, man, you do everything. Tell people a little bit about yourself. But you my man, you've been on the show before, but remind people who you are.
Yeah, so artist, collector, art school dropout, chopped cotton once as a kid from the South. But no, man, just love art, love what art has presented in my life, in terms of, opportunities and connecting with people and going to the different places and just running into people that love and have found ways to support, Black Art America is an example of the reinvestment that we've made in the success that we've had as an artist. I say we in terms of Maurice and Terry and I, but yeah, I'm an artist, mixed media artist, primarily photo montage, I sculpt. Moved to Atlanta in 2005 to pursue the ideal of making it as an artist. I didn't know what that would look like, but thankfully I've been able to forge a path. And in 2010 started Black Art America, and the headquarters is a representation of what we've been able to do over the course of the last 13 years, and we've got a resource of articles and podcasts, and we've hosted events around the country. Many people are taking advantage of the success of our industry, and showing in places like Miami Art Basel, just to name one of the various fairs. But we were ahead of the curve, I would say, in 2012 with the whole Do You Basel campaign, getting Black people to be aware that you get this fair taking place, $500 million of art taking place, this marketplace that we're not present in. And we've also produced shows in multiple markets. But now we got a headquarters, man. We got a space where we've taken that online community and said, hey, y'all can come over here and see what we're doing.
Yeah.
Mounting regular exhibitions, and we got a host team and staff, a beautiful garden space, 3.5 miles from the airport, Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta, about 2 miles from Tyler Perry Studio. But yeah, we're here.
Indeed. And so, long career, man, you've been making art for a long time. Full-time artist for how long?
Full time. Basically, when we moved to Atlanta, but I first started the show. I had a partial scholarship to the Memphis Academy of Art in '91. In '96 is when I would say I started to develop a passion for art and create and look for opportunities, seek out opportunities to show that art.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started to exhibit in Memphis, which is a big city where I live close to, and Southern Illinois. And Satira and I, we had opened up a gallery in the late 90s. It was our first venture in having a gallery in like a '99 in Blytheville. And then we got a cool space, man. Like we had took over this old JCPenney's that was downtown.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yep, 7,500 square feet. In that space, we had a used bookstore, coffee house, huge exhibition space, studio space upstairs. We actually sponsored a number of events, very similar to basically the same thing that we do now.
Yeah.
That thread was started back in the 90s, and in 2005, decided to, pursue, being a full-time artist, and that's when I moved to Atlanta, and just hit the road running.
Yeah. So you've been in the gallery system, you've been an art dealer for a long time too?
Yeah, I would say, because, we had the gallery, we started selling work, that started actually in the late 90s. And when we started Black Art in America, we had to figure, in 2010, we had to figure out how to pay for this thing, right? The time, energy, and effort. You know a little something about that. And I would say, man, it took us actually 2.5 years to really kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
How to become a sustainable company. We spent a lot of time, putting out content and going around doing shows and this and that. And then I was like, hold on, we know all these artists, right? Yeah. And we're collecting, right? And the thought came to mind, like, man, for every collector that I was fortunate enough to get to, fall in love with my work, I'm like, they're going to be interested in other material. What would happen if I showed them what I thought was wonderful as we thought it was?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what started the second phase of us being art dealers in around 2012, I would say. So we're about 10 years in, 10, 11 years into being art dealers.
Yeah, I'm saying all this, and actually these questions, I know it, but I'm putting it for the audience so when we start talking, they have a context for what we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
So they know that you are a person that's been on both sides of this kind of art world business, as a producing artist, as somebody that's selling, as somebody connecting. You've done museum shows and all kinds of stuff. So a lot of experience, a lot of expertise that we got right here on the podcast. Want everybody to know, recognize that. These ain't just two dudes at a barbershop.
No, man.
Like, we know a little bit of something. And so you got an article out on Black Art America. It'll be out by the time it's come out. Painting the moment. The time has come for Atlanta's African American visual art scene. Article written on Black Art America. It's an interesting article. And so we got to talking about it, man. So we switching out. This is what we talking about today.
Okay.
We talking about the Atlanta art scene.
Yeah.
You just recently opened this. This is like 1 year coming up.
Coming up on 1 year.
Coming up on 1 year, but you've been in Columbus before that. But you've been, like I said, done shows all over the place. Tell me how you see the Atlanta art scene now that you moved in, kind of you live with it a little bit. Like, what's your observations?
I mean, it's growing. Like when I moved here in 05, I moved here as an artist, and the artists, we say, typically say that you could create here, but the base wasn't here to support. And I would say we're still struggling to cultivate the collector base like you would want. But man, there's so many different venues to take in art. I mean, you can almost take in art just about every day of the week. Multiple opportunities to go to openings, receptions, programming. I mean, you take a look at everybody from the National Black Art Festival, doing programming, Arts Exchange, the various galleries, Zucot, us, over at the Southwest Art Center. You got new galleries at UTA popped up, and just a plethora of various spaces where you can see work, as well as the communes where you got artists like Charlie and Shaniqua, not Shaniqua, but Charlie, Lillian Blades, and Tracy Morrell and others. I can't remember the name.
Over there.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that complex, but it's just so many.
The Westview Studio.
Westview,
yeah.
Okay. And then the spaces that Kevin Sipp, who curates, multiple spaces in the city of Atlanta and the surrounding areas. Brian Aber and Jonesboro. But there's so many venues and opportunities to take in art, ways to present the work of African American artists in the city. And then that doesn't even take into account from a historical standpoint, like the collection at Clark. You take a look at Spelman, and then you got the majority spaces that are presenting and showcasing works by artists of color. So, man, I think it's almost time to really kind of call it for what it is, man. Is Atlanta one of the top art destinations for Black art, for Black visual culture? With all the venues we got, the history, the collections, the collectors.
It's a whole thing, and we've been seeing it grow like a lot. And I've been in the Atlanta art scene. I mean, I was in the Marietta Art Walks and like doing little shows at coffee shops and all kinds of stuff around Atlanta. So just being here, seeing how many more opportunities that people have, but also seeing. I think there was a generation. What I'll call it my generation because that's when I came to Atlanta in '03, and I was doing shows with Dan the Man and Fabian Williams and like Man Other Cats and kind of I figured that that's my generation of Atlanta artists, right? Because that's when we were doing shows at the time. It was us doing shows together with each other, connecting, and like putting each other on to articulate and all this other stuff that's coming up. And so I do think that it's good for people to see that it was a much stronger version of the art community, I think, than what was here before. Or it was just different because then when you talk to people like Kevin or I'm blanking on his name. Did I'm blanking on his name. He did the hands pulling people up.
Oh, he ain't Heavy Gilbert Young?
Yeah, Gilbert Young. Okay. Yeah. So it was he talked to the older cats like Gilbert Young, he talked to Kevin Williams. They talk about Carl Owens and all the people when they used to get together and do figure drawing at the Hammond House and stuff like that. So I think it's more of a we didn't know about it, and then we kind of created our own thing, thinking we were first. You know what I'm saying? But I think that kind of generation is blossoming, growing, developing, doing museum shows, getting out of town, spreading the word, and then bringing some of that energy back to the city a little bit more. That's what I kind of see happening. So you had a long list of the places right here at the end of the article. Y'all look it up on blackoutamerica.com. You got the Arts Exchange, you got the Apex Museum, Future Gallery, Shot at the Bird, we got Hammond's House, we got Johnson Lowe, Mint, September Gray, Arnika Dawkins. I mean, it's a whole list of all the galleries up here that's talking about. Is that a rarity? I haven't been in many other cities to see kind of what they doing.
Man, and when I would visit cities, I mean, I wouldn't be there long enough to really investigate, but I never got the impression that they had as many venues. I mean, I've been to Chicago a ton of times, done a number of shows really close with a lot of the artists that are there. Same thing in Houston and, visiting, even like when I visit Philly and New York. If they got it, I wasn't familiar with it. And it wasn't like something where people would say, yeah, we've got 10 galleries or we've got 12, venues where you can go and seek out this material. So if we're wrong, then please let us know because we want everybody to know where they can access Black visual culture, Black art around the country. And I'm pretty sure that there are several venues, even with the list that we've got assembled on Black Art in America. There's got to be tons of venues that are not even listed. So if you're listening to this and your venue is not listed, please reach out and we'll add you to the list. But I think the argument could be made, and I think we're at a turning point where a lot is happening. More and more people. There's more artists than ever. You know what I mean? Like more artists being generated, more places to show, and various arts like the ones that we're showcasing now. This is quote unquote what we consider to be more the fine art. Like what about the artists that are doing more tattoos or street art or things of that nature. Like we don't have any of those venues listed, but I know like some of that exists. I mean, I've never been in the Maya Bailey space, but I mean he's got a huge community.
Oh yeah, that stuff is awesome. P Street Station, shout out to Maya City, all of them always doing big things. And he's generating a lot of young artists that are coming out of there. And so I think if that catches your vibe, it kind of attracts people because they do so many. They do poetry, they do film screening, they do the tattoos, they do all kind of theme shows, stuff like that. And so that is also part of like capturing talented people and giving them the option to let them know that you can do this as a career. I think that is super valuable, especially like when people are like, when you're young, man, all you know is that I like to do stuff. I like to paint a little bit. I don't know what to do with it.
But the times are different though, Jamaal, because like when I was growing up, I didn't know any artist that made a living from art. I didn't even know this opportunity existed. And so like when I moved here in 2005 and started to do shows, it was because of me meeting other artists that talked about turning me on to places where you could show. I mean, think about this generation that's growing up with social media and they could probably, they can sell as many pieces on social media as they're going to sell at any of the galleries that they may, even try to approach. But the ecosystem is one where, you could be straight out the womb, and I'm saying womb as being a young artist, and start selling for 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. Some of these cats are even asking for way more than that. Well, that didn't exist. Like you had to work your way to that point back in the day.
Right. Yeah.
And so people are buying art and accessing art, and not everybody is putting these kind of qualifiers on, like, what's great art, what's good art, or what I should get, this and that. People are just finding things to connect with, and that's great for those younger artists. Because it creates an opportunity, and then they got the example. They got all of us out here, and the ones that came before us. They say, hey, I know I can make it. I mean, how many of us grew up in the families like, you want to be a what? You better go get a real job.
Yeah.
But they see Jamaal on TV and in museum shows and giving lectures, and like, baby, you might want to, if you want to be an artist, let's get you some crayons.
Look at that boy up there.
Right. So.
Nah, that's super true. And so, let's talk about the ecosystem a little bit. Like,
Okay.
Like, I think it all feeds into each other. You know what I mean? It's like what you were just saying about MySpace, where capturing people that have a little bit of talent, have the desire to do something, not quite sure about the knowledge yet, and then they kind of develop themselves amongst each other. They push their work, they produce more work, that produces a little bit of energy, a little bit of buzz to get people in. So now you bring people in, and now they're collecting with people that also have a desire to have this art in the house, the object, itself in the house. And then next thing you know, they catch the bug. Now they looking for where else can I get some good art? Where can I get some better art? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all right, but I'm looking for something like this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then they move up to the next step. They find Black Art in America or Zouk Art or somewhere else like that. And then that produces more collectors, because they tell their friends go to their house, they start to see, oh, where'd you get this from? Then they start to connect, so now they start expanding. That means there's more room for more Black Art Americas, more Zouk Arts, more Mint Galleries. And so I think it's like becomes just like one big thing. But what do you think? What do you think? Who has more onus to start it, to generate it? Do you know what I mean? Like, does it need to be more prominent artists first, or do there need to be more galleries first?
I think there needs to be more access first, because I think I'm just thinking, like, when people first access art, like they can come in and they can see it. They may not be in a position to buy it. They may not think they can afford it, But the more they're surrounded by it, and the more opportunities, and really, like, even like you're saying, the more buzz is generated, becomes infectious. We can't forget about, like, when we talk about this history of, like, people becoming acquainted with something and start to collect at certain levels, and then try to grow in their collection and work. Like, think about the National Black Art Festival. 35 years plus putting on events. And many of those people that came in, people were collecting the bibs and the ponchos, and Kevin and Gilbert and Frank Frazier and others, Leroy Campbell and all those, and all of them. And so, like, that was a whole generation of collectors. Many of them come to the gallery now, talk about the heyday, but that created buzz. That created opportunity for young cats like myself, because I came in like right after that generation doing art, and that's what led me to Atlanta. I mean, honestly, when you think about, because it was a buzz that was created there, they said, "Oh, Atlanta's a spot,"
right?
And so, like, we all feeding this energy. But people access art where they will. We just never know. Like, those people that's graduating from school, buying their first print, buying their first poster, their first catalog. Like, some of them are gonna want some fine art. But it all feeds into the ecosystem. I think it's more of a bottom up than a top down, because I think when people start to investigate and start to buy into, like, following the major magazines or art tabloids, or going to the fairs and going to the blue chip galleries, they don't have a tendency to come back, because they associate a certain valuation and prestige with these arts, quote unquote, right? The industry is really built from the bottom up. because when people start to just buy work that they can connect with, because not all work, I mean, contrary to belief, people think that all work appreciates. I would argue not.
No.
I work with people all the time that
I
bought work,
definitely,
10, 20, 30 years ago that's trying to sell it for whatever reason. And, the market hadn't substantiated a secondary market for their material. Doesn't mean that it doesn't have value as a family heirloom or cultural relevance and things of value from that standpoint, but we talking about the market, So I feel like I'm getting on this old man kind of thing. Talking about just going back and forth. But anyway, it's just it's just art just needs to be accessible. But I think that not enough is given to like the grassroots, the smaller galleries, and the culture centers and the galleries that are in the city that build up and cultivate these collectors and provide space for these artists to showcase and present their works. And then, some of them go on to become household names or major gallery artists, artists that are in fairs and festivals. But there's room for more,
Yeah, for sure. And I just had a couple episodes ago at Georgia Sohey that started Articulate. Articulate is really great at that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get a lot of like emerging artists from Atlanta, from around Atlanta, get them together in one place, and all the collectors can come and they'll buy work from $100 to $500. You know what I'm saying? So that's for a lot of people. That's their first art piece. That's where you can go and buy like a couple of paintings. They get in your house and you get a feel for it. And then you come back the next year and you do start to follow these people and hope that they continue to grow. But I'm always on the side of to not think about the investment of art just yet. Not when you first starting off. You know what I'm saying? You're a lawyer and you start doing art for yourself. You can think about it like that. But if you're just a guy who likes some art, you know what I'm saying? You want something that remind you of your grandma.
Right.
Like, you
get some on them walls, man. That's
on the walls, man. Make your house feel better. Make your house feel better. I'm always a pro for that. And so we've seen a lot of movement and around people being collectors, right? Me and you talked about a little bit about how many more Instagram collector accounts we see, and how, even there's a group here in Atlanta that comes by the gallery when Natasha and Ashley and all of them, they get together and they are collectors as a group.
Yeah,
right?
I just recently joined, so.
Look at that. See?
Moving on like Georgia Wheezy.
Yeah, so talk about that kind of movement that you see. And what do you think is inspiring that?
Well, just connecting with people who had that same bug as you do. It reminds me of, and I love that group. The reason being because they're getting around to everything. They're buying and supporting the ecosystem. The artists, they're buying from artists, they're buying from galleries, they're being present. Because sometimes it's just a matter of, being present. You never know how much that means for just come out and participate. But they're building a network, Atlanta Collectors, ACC, and they're showing up and they're collecting. It's important because they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're being present. What that does, it helps to build, even more energy. I think about like Diaspora Rhythms in Chicago. They're known. They're matter of fact, they're about to celebrate 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, as a collectors group, and their whole thing is supporting living artists and getting out, being present. They even open up their homes, which is different, where people can come in like every year or so. They have a number of members open up their homes, and it becomes infectious because it's one thing to talk about collecting, but when you start to show people how you live with it, you know what I'm saying, and let them know that it's accessible and it makes a difference in your quality of life through the example, then I think that's the strongest way to kind of build interest. And then when you start to get a group of people together that's their thing, then it becomes infectious. It becomes a bit competitive. Because I've been in spaces when we had like a show just opened, and they're there, and before I join the group, I'm there. You know what I'm saying? And so like, we all, just going up, red dotting it up, trying to figure out what.
Get my piece first.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man, and that's a beautiful thing, man. Because a lot of times, you know, you can feel like you're on an island. I hear a lot of collectors say that, like, I didn't know as many people were collecting, you know, as they are. But they're collectors all over the country. That's why it kind of bothers me when I would hear, you know, artists say, well, ain't no black, you know, black collectors ain't buying my work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, maybe you just need to step up your game, or maybe you need to present your work in a space where it's gonna, you know, where the black collectors are. Because I know that there was a difference between some of the earlier shows I was doing that were in predominantly white areas. You're not going to get an influx of black collectors. But if you start, when you start to do black shows that are produced by black people in cities that are predominantly black or have a huge black population, then you stand a chance. But black people out here buying.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of black collectors in Atlanta and around the country.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I would say. It's important.
Oh man, how spicy you want to get, man? How spicy you want to get?
Man, I don't know.
Let's rate. What would you rate the taste of some of these collectors that you've met?
Oh shit. But you know what? No. I'm gonna keep it 100. Let me tell you what. Because oftentimes, because people know how active Satirian are with collecting.
Yeah. And you have a great eye for art. Like your collection is really super top.
I would agree with that. and I say that that's not necessarily being boastful, but because, you know, because I'm an artist, because I'm a collector, and I'm a dealer, you know, I feel really strongly about the talent that I've identified, that I worked with early on, that's gone on to reach, you know, higher levels in the marketplace. But yeah, I mean, thank you for that. I mean, I love the work that we've collected. But what I would say is that the question was about?
How would you
rate the collectors. The one thing that I don't like to do is, because I run into collectors all the time that try to compare their collection to other people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, it's not about that. You know what I'm saying? It's about finding the work that you connect with. Now, I say that when I find collectors who are buying original works, you know, with like emerging artists, because some people collect for different reasons. Passion, prestige, and profit. And sometimes there's some overlap. But if you're a collector buying original work and you're trusting your eye and you're growing your collection, like, I'm about it. Like, I support that. Show me your eye, show me your taste, show me the artists that you love and you're passionate about, and let's talk about why. I think it becomes problematic for me is when it becomes a thing of trophy hunting, you know, or it becomes a thing of, you know, you got these prints by, you know, these artists, you know, and then I might look at it a little differently. Now, sometimes I've gone into one house, let me tell you this. So, and you can't never. Sometimes you gotta chuckle. This is the only time I will kind of be a little bougie or art snob. So I was in Chicago, and my man Gene had this guy that lived in the neighborhood, and he was just talking about how he was a collector, this and that and this and that. So man, I'd love to see your collection, right? And so we go in, and he has a bunch of framed posters, and he had one of the dogs playing poker, and he said that's his favorite piece. Yeah. And I was like, man, this ain't, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the only time I get like that. But if you acquiring works, man, and you support these artists, and you find something to connect with, and you buying original works, you know, I support that. I think over time though, the more that you're exposed, you know, and really understand like the value of what some of these artists are presenting and doing, you know, you can kind of hone your eye to see the real value of what they're bringing, because a lot of it is repetitive. You know, some of, you know, it's you know, derivative is the word that I'm looking for. You know, they find, you know, some artists that have popularized a particular style, and then they'll bite off of that, and so for me, you know, I'm looking for, like, you know, is this a signature style? What statements are they doing? How they handling the medium? You know, and, you know, what stories are they telling? Like, what's different about this work? And I could tell, like, when I, you know, I'm gonna get the, you know, if I go into a show, I'm gonna find a gem, you know, without a doubt, you know. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
I agree with that, because now that people ask me to do a lot more like jury and like picking stuff and curating, and I don't know, like it's kind of like you just get a sense of like what's the good stuff, like it shines through, like you put a pile of rocks on the floor, like you can just see which one is gold and which one is not, you know what I'm saying, like it's almost instant. Then I can go into and break down all the formal qualities of like why it's important, but like it all starts with that, like you gotta just develop your eye for being able to see certain things and see them quickly, and and that just comes over time. So I think people's tastes are likely to change over time too. Like it's rare, but maybe not. Maybe you'd be a better one to ask that question. Like, how much growth have you seen people undertake? Like, do you see people? Of course, if somebody starts out doing just reproduction, posted prints, yeah, they can move into original art and get up to acrylic paintings and stuff like that as they grow. But how often do you see people grow like that, or do they always like maintain like one particular thing that they like and kind of hold true to it like the whole way?
You talking in terms of artists?
In terms of collectors.
Oh, okay, collectors. I don't know, man. I guess like for us, I'm trying to think how is. I don't think we got a common theme. I think like when I go out and I see a show, it boils down to the work and the statement of the work. But there's no, I don't have a running thing other than it's got to be by Black artists. We do have a few artists from the continent that we have a few of their pieces, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's I don't know necessarily how to answer that one because I'm not collecting based on themes. I'm collecting based on the value of the work that I'm getting from it, how it makes us feel, how we feel about the work, and what the artist is doing, and what we think that they can go with the support of us, supporting their work. Like this show, we picked up 4 pieces from this show. We picked up a work by Agape, a work by Winter, a Wendy Kendricks, and a Monica Brown. And I mean, they're all strong pieces in their own right, but there was no common thread other than they were, women artists presented in the gallery.
Right.
At the time.
Right. They just spoke to you.
Yeah.
Which is a great way to pick work, honestly.
That's how we got our first Jamaal.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So we talk about there was another article that came out from ArtNet, and is Atlanta art scene finally achieving critical mass? There are big signs that point to yes, as they say. So, like, I don't know. I feel like we talked about this before, so I want you to repeat your answer that you gave to me before about how it is almost like a Christopher Columbus thing, where it's kind of like this undiscovered space of all these people that are not on the map, quote unquote, on the map, like New York or LA or Miami or something like that. And so it's. Tell me how you feel about this. You get a sense that it's a rush to be the one that pronounces Atlanta as the place to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, who gets to be the person that defines Atlanta as a space, and therefore the expert, the official person to go to about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, as an artist, that's how I feel. It's like, because I've seen, we've been here making art and doing shows for 20 years. Like, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, UTA is here, so, the space is official now. Like, we got, everything we need right here in Atlanta. Like, we've been at it. Is that kind of?
Well, I guess there's a couple things that come to mind, and one, from a historical standpoint, you got the Clark Collection, you got Spelman, you got Hammond's House, you had the Neighborhood Art Center is the name that I couldn't think of prior to Arts Exchange.
Arts Exchange,
yeah, and then you had galleries, like when I moved here, Burma and Lynn, the Visca Gallery, there was the top gallery that I knew of in the city, and then you had Todd Gallery and other galleries over time, back in the day. In terms of, I think, people positioning themselves, because like we all had this great hope though, man. And I'm going back to the hope of Atlanta and what Atlanta could be. You know, like, you know, it's like, man, you got this black mecca, you got all these celebrities, you got all these educated people that came through the AU Center and the black colleges. You know, you got all these black professionals, and so we always felt like Atlanta, you know, should be the spot. You know, and I guess the growth of the artists, the various art spaces, and you know, this churning of just black visual culture, and then also the marketplace. I think, you know, all those factors has played a role into like where we are right now. You know, if we hadn't had the success of the auction records and the artists that are showing in the fairs, and then the artists that are commanding these huge dollars. I mean, think about Radcliffe, right? I mean, I would say I'm a beneficiary of the success of Radcliffe's show at the High Museum, but think about the history. Like there was when the committee initially went to the High to present the show, they was like they didn't want to do it, so the committee came up with a deal to basically underwrite Radcliffe's show. They didn't think it would be successful, and it ends up being like the third most attended show that they ever had. Like it broke all kind of records. Well, that provided space for people like me, because when the Columbus Museum came calling like 3 years after Radcliffe, I know that they were influenced by the success, you know, and so it's just a continuation. And so like when we see the success now, you know, while we read these articles in other spaces, or we see these individuals, you know, presenting themselves as authorities within the field of carving out and creating space for themselves and for others, there was a history that preceded that, you know, and that's one of the things that we kind of outlined. And then like even with us coming, and you know, while I've been in Atlanta for 18 years, you know, we just opened up our headquarters. Like we're adding to that ecosystem of presenting, you know, artists and presenting work and telling a story. And it's not that there's not one story. There's never one story. You know, the thing is like there's multiple stories that's unfolding. There's multiple histories that's taking place. And as much as, you know, myself and Kendra started Atlanta Art Week and Art Consultant and UTA and the galleries that are here are, you know, presenting and creating opportunities for people to take in art. I mean, you're part of that too with Studio Noise. You know what I'm saying? Like the documentation that we do through Baya, you know, starting in 2010, you started Studio Noise 2018, and over the course of this time, man, you know, you're part of the official record of what's been taking place. You're part of, you know, you're an integral part of this ecosystem, not only local, but nationally. You know what I'm saying? And so like we're all, Benny Andrews said it best. He said we're all but a cog in the wheel working to perpetuate our culture forward. You know what I mean? So it's not about who's taking ownership. We're all creating this buzz. You never find a McDonald's without a Burger King up the street. You know what I'm saying? You can't have an arts district or a culture with just one or two entities.
Right.
That's the beauty of it, and that's why we're saying that Atlanta's thriving. I mean, Atlanta's positioned to really thrive when we can continue to get more buy-in from people supporting the artists, becoming patrons of the cultural centers, coming in and taking in the shows and living with this work. Like, we're on the cusp of something that could be tremendously special.
I completely agree with that. And so you do have like a lot of like cultural, excuse me, milestone places like the Spelman Museum, who has the Black Portraiture Show. And you know, Clark always has a tremendous collection that gets undervalued. We just saw Toki Taylor over at Hammond's house. And so it's still, all the historical cultural places are still thriving too. You know what I'm saying? I think that part of that layering of the history is a part of what makes Atlanta special too. You know, having been here for so long and seeing so many people and been connected to damn near everybody at some point, just being around and just being a fan of art, a patron of art, just going around and supporting as much as I can to be a part of like this community. Tell me a little bit about the community of Atlanta as you see it, or do you see like even how much the artists are together so much and like interacting with each other?
I guess it depends on what artist you're talking about.
Well,
like,
yeah,
you know, everybody loves Jamaal. You know what I'm saying? But shit, You know,
yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, man. It's for me, I can honestly say why, you know, I have camaraderie with my contemporaries. I don't feel like I'm I don't, you know, I'm not one to get invited over for dinner. And, I mean, it could be a number of different things, or be invited to, you know, go hang out or something like that. And it could be, you know, it could be just me, personality, who knows, whatever. But I do know that there's a bunch of y'all getting together hanging out. But you know, I mean, but the thing is, like, we're here, and I don't know if, I don't know. I mean, that hadn't been my experience. That, you know, just really hanging out with a lot of artists. I mean, I talked to a few. But most of my friends and the people I'm closest with are, you know, just regular folk, you know, and I would say, like, some of them have been influenced by, you know, who I am and what I'm doing, and the fact that we collect. And so some of them have started to collect, you know, got art in their homes and whatnot. But you can find the whole thing is about just finding your community.
Yeah.
You know, like, whether I'm really close with my contemporaries or not, the reality is we've built something that provides space for them to show, or we've promoted their work. Like, I would argue, I can't think of really many artists in the scope of 13 years. Well, I won't say I can't think of many. There's been a ton of artists, hundreds of articles, hundreds of articles, hundreds of posts on social. You know, so we've done what we could to support the industry. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
I think that's valuable. You know, don't undersell that part of it.
No, I mean, that's the value.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Because everybody's like, when we talked about adding value to the ecosystem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is a value to you being the one to promote and talk about these shows and make these articles about artists, and even the people that you bias got behind to boost up their careers have went on to do like even more things. So, like, you know, that's very valuable. Is it, you know, it's not it's not quite the same as like me and Shaniqua and George and Soleil playing Uno with each other.
Right. That's different.
But that's a different type of thing, right? And so,
yeah.
so like, your community can look in like in a lot of different ways. You know what I'm saying? And so, but I think all of it is important because at the collectors dinner we had the other day, I was telling one of the collectors that the moment is interesting and I love it because, like, when I see like Toki do museum stuff, when I see Sachi doing solo shows all in different places, when I see Jamaal out, you know, getting commissions at the Zuckerman and all this other stuff, like, we were hanging together when nobody was paying attention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In a lot of ways, we fed into each other in a way that, like, yo, that's dope, keep going. When nobody was giving us money, we were there egging each other on and get everybody hyped up and say, like, yo, you're doing good work, keep it up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like that little, I don't know, maybe they'll tell the story one day about whether or not, like, hearing from Jamaal say the work is dope kept them making work when they wanted to give up or something like that. I know I got it for a lot of times when I wanted to give up. And one of my friends who are contemporaries talked about how I'm doing good work. It's like, it just kept me going just long enough before people finally started paying attention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, people see me on TV now. Your boy wasn't always on TV. I was in the basement alone.
Shit.
A lot of them nights.
A
lot of them nights.
Well, that first print, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Print and I mean, I've seen the journey. We've seen the journey, you know. And I guess the thing is that you know, everything has a place, and you know, whether, you know, and whether I guess going back to the question about, like, the camaraderie, you know, everybody doing their thing, because I mean, even, and people, and support comes in different ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not everybody that you think that can help you is in a position to help or willing to help. But I can think about, like, dude, I think about the cats, like, that we didn't support it from, like, buying work. Like, like I said in the thing, like, our first Alpha content we bought in 2006. You know, or the print that you did, or, you know, we got some work by Charlie and so many others. But as a gallery, and I think about the checks we done wrote, man, we didn't, you know, we did cut a lot of checks, man. People been able to eat. You know, I mean, I can even catch. I mean, this is a little off topic, you know, because you know it's like relationship. I think about the cats that we worked with in the past that you know, unfortunately, like we don't have a relationship with now, for whatever reason. Like man, it's like you get. I wish artists could see from this side of the table, like what it takes to present, create opportunities. You know, we give this one example. Like we had a collector that had put some work on layaway. Right, on installment, which we gladly do installment, and they were running behind on payment. And so we reached out and said, you know, we just running a little late, this and that, is there anything you can do? They got offended, right? They got offended that we would call them because they were running late on making the installment. And I got a call from, and this has been, you know, about 3 months back, I got a call from the artist the other day. And he was like, yeah, you know, a friend of theirs had, you know, reached out and was interested in a piece, this, that, and the third. He said, but if they buy something, I'll make sure you get your commission. But the reality is, the collector told a friend about the artist that we introduced them to, but they didn't want them to go to the gallery because either they felt embarrassed or felt some kind of way about us. Right. You see what I'm saying? And so they circumvented the gallery and sent them directly to the artist. But thankfully, because of the relationship, the artist is going to make sure that the gallery is whole. But it's certain things that the artists never see, you know, and that the gallery has to deal with, you know, dealing with the public, you know, making sure that that we got staff. You know, we got 5 people work for Black Art in America. Make sure the staff is here. There were times when one in particular, I remember doing a fair in Miami doing Basel, and the curator of the fair didn't want me to present one particular artist for whatever reason. I didn't know. I took the artist work there anyway, and sold the work. And then the fair, you know, the fair director was like, "Oh man, I really like the work, this and that," and had me put it out in other spaces. But we no longer have a relationship with this artist. You know, this artist reached out and was like, you know, I'm gonna go a different direction. And I think, you know, mainstream came calling, and I think they could take me places, and so their relationship is no longer there. But they had no idea, like, the fight. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that we do to put their work out there, to call collectors up, make sure the bills are paid, make sure, you know, and make decisions like that, to take them in spaces. They don't take those things into account. And I just wish that they could see it more from like this side of the table. And then that way, me, I might get invited more to the potlucks. You know what I'm saying? Or the work that we bought. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The work that we bought when times were soft. You know what I'm saying? Just so they can have some change. You know what I'm saying? And have some money to pay a bill or whatever the case may be. And so at some point, I think a conversation about the role of the gallery, the role of the dealer, and the things that we do from this side, you know, so they can have a little more clarity and understanding, that they might have more appreciation for what it takes. Like, these things don't happen in the vacuum, man. Black Art in America, it's $1 million investment. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? With the buying the property, the renovation, the staff, and everything that's here. You know, and so yeah, it's a lot, and I guess it's not to make it, you know, a gripe session about buyer or you know, the whole thing, but it's we're part of the ecosystem too. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And we're integral part, because, you know, I found that it takes, you know, to reach the heights of the market, it takes more than an artist-driven market in and of themselves. Right. You gotta have entities. You gotta have entities that's making an investment, creating opportunities, and really pushing the needle with that material and creating opportunities to really go there. The gallery, the blue chip, quote unquote blue chip galleries, they got teams of people that work there that's really pushing the needle.
Yeah. On each individual artist.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because you don't get like Derek Adams going to Congoji. Like you don't get that. You know, he went there for a reason.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's a special thing. And so you're right, because, you know, recently there was another article about a brother that opened up a gallery in New York and was robbing artists of their money. Yeah. And so like it's part of like, which side of the story do you relate to the most, right? Because there you got 2 different stories. You hear your story about all the work that you have successfully done and driven and giving value to other artists, and then you have another gallery that just straight owes hundreds of thousands of dollars to like all these people. And so like artists, they team up and they either pair with the artists that were aggrieved, or they pair with the gallery that was aggrieved. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, you're right, that does need to be a conversation that we need to like hash out, really think through. But I'm always a proponent for the gallery personally, because they do so much work, like you were describing, and all the galleries do, to connect you with people that will actually give you money for the things that you're making. And so, you know, you're not sitting at your house making stuff in your basement and coming across people that got, you know, $10,000 worth of disposable income for you to give to an artist for a thing. Like, you know, that's not, you know, that takes skill, it takes work, it takes a team, like you were saying. And so, yeah, we need to make sure we understand each other so that the ecosystem can still function and everybody can benefit. Like, it's not one thing like, you know, somebody's robbing and taking half your money. They're giving you half the value that you didn't have in the first place.
Yeah, true that.
So,
I mean, I can go on, but I'm not.
Nah, that's good, man. Look, more conversation like this, man. You know, I'm just posted up, man. Najee sitting around, I'm gonna scoop them up and grab them, start having mad conversations like this on the podcast.
For sure.
But it's good, man. Good to chop it up with you, man. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gotta be an interview all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no, it's great, man. I'm really proud of what you've done, your consistency, your dedication, and it's paying off, man. It's so important. That's why I we wanted to support from the standpoint of Black Art in America, but Atlanta, man, like people need to get down here. You know, come see some of the artists, follow them on social, come schedule studio business, come to the galleries, the different events and venues and whatnot. But you know, it's a community that's really coming into its own. I would say.
Absolutely. And until you get to Atlanta, connect with the artists in your city, wherever you at.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? There's Black artists all over the U.S. doing great work, doing good work that might be great.
They doing some work.
They making drawings.
Hey.
And so, but anyway.
Well, find the great work in your community.
Find them, support the people, man. Because you know, like if it weren't for Najee buying my one print, you know, who knows what Jamaal will be.
Jamaal be doing this thing.
But that's what's up, yo. Appreciate you coming on, man. Tell them how to get in contact with you. Tell them how they need to get in contact with the gallery.
Yeah, follow us on social. Come to the gallery. We're in East Point, 1802 Connolly Drive, East Point, as Jamaal would say, Georgia. Right? Yeah, and you can always find us on your favorite social media platform. But yeah, tune in, come see us, come say hey, and we appreciate y'all supporting the arts. Find something to connect with, find some artists to support, find some institutions to support, and let's move this needle forward.
Oh, real quick, give them a little preview of one or two things you got coming up here at the gallery.
Oh yeah, so we got the next show. We're closing. By the time this airs, we would close out Her Voice Sings, and we'll be opening Kindred, featuring the work of Kevin Johnson and Akinola Tohi from Nigeria, two artists that we represent. Very excited about that material. And I'm gonna say Friday, August 7th, we've got a conversation moderated by Ramal Toon, who wrote a book entitled I Wish My Dad, Vulnerable Conversations Between Fathers and Sons, talking with artists Jamaal Barber, Jim Alexander, and Kevin Williams about fathers and father figures and their support of creative endeavors and pursuits. So visit blackartinamerica.com and check out our list of events and see what we got coming up next.
Oh yeah, special exclusive preview. We got a print show coming up here in the summer at Black Art America. You got your boy Jay Barber in there, you got Sean Brucker, you got Steve Prince, Jerusha Graham, Chloe Alexander, and a bunch of selected work from the bio collection catalog. Like what do you
Collection.
Yeah,
so we'll have some Catlett, some Ella Lewis, and some of the
Lord.
Yeah, Mildred Thompson. You know, we get a little something. So come on,
Yes,
come on,
you know your boy. I get excited about that print name. That's my bag, yo. So look forward to that coming up in the summer, yo. So that's it, Joe. Appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Appreciate it, being happy to be here. Thank you.
Give me a drop right quick. I don't know if you drop. I don't think you have. Just name, profession, and you are listening to Studio Noise.
Oh, okay. Hey, it's Najee Dorsey, Black Art in America, artist, collector, and you're listening to Studio Noise Podcast, the home of black. Let me do that. The voice of black art. All right. Everybody's Najee Dorsey, artist, collector, founder, and CEO of Black Art in America. You're listening to Studio Noise.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice conversation.
You think
I
so?
like it. Yeah,
Yeah, man. I don't know.
I like it.
I feel like I got the stumbling around a little bit, but that's.
No, you did.
Huh?
You did.
Yeah.
It was fun. That was good. I think I like that because it's a nice topical conversation, not so much interview. The last couple of ones have been like somebody got a show, let's talk about your show. It's like very specific, but this one was more like topical, general.